The girl I loved most suffered from severe depression. She abandoned herself to despair, self-harmed, and sought death, but I saved her every time. Yet no matter how much I loved her, she was still drawn to another depressed boy, determined to save him at all costs. In my past life, I sacrificed myself to become her support in redeeming that boy. I funded his college education, paid his father's medical bills, arranged the best therapist for him. I watched them step by step walk toward the light while I in my torment spiraled into mental illness. I thought she might glance at me, but instead she snickered with that guy, haha. He loves me so much he has gone crazy. Returning once more to the day I first met that guy, the girl I loved most still threatened me. If you refuse to help him, then don't expect to help me ever again. Tears of laughter streamed down my face, and here I thought such good fortune didn't exist. When the first thing I saw upon rebirth was Chloe gripping some guy's hand while aggressively demanding of me, were you spacing out for, are you going to help him or not? I kept staring blankly, momentarily dazed by the sight of this girl in a white sundress with her hair in a ponytail, before realizing with a jolt that I'd been reborn. Reborn at the most critical juncture of my life. Should I help Ethan or not? Ethan, like Chloe, suffered from depression and was also an extremely impoverished student who struggled to even afford meals. His melancholic aura seemed innate, effortlessly captivating Chloe, who was determined to rescue him from his suffering. I've been through the rain, so I want to hold an umbrella for him. These were Chloe's exact words. Chloe was orphaned and raised by her aunt, enduring years of abuse. She battled depression and self-harm from a young age, even attempting suicide. Multiple times I stayed by her side, all along doing everything I could to pull her out of the abyss. Now she has become a radiant and confident princess, the scars from her self-harm barely visible, exuding an air of self-assuredness and pride like a pampered Persian cat. All of this was my doing, yet in this princess's eyes, I never existed, only Ethan mattered. In my past life, I was filled with grievances and sorrow, but to avoid angering Chloe, I still chose to help Ethan. I poured in money and effort foolishly, holding an umbrella for Chloe and Ethan beneath its shelter. They laughed and enjoyed their blissful lives while I stood drenched in the rain. In the end, Ethan overcame his depression and hand in hand with Chloe, stepped into a top-tier university, embracing a bright future. Meanwhile, my suffering triggered a hereditary mental illness, not only derailing my studies, but also forcing me into a psychiatric hospital for treatment. I will never forget how Chloe covered her mouth and laughed at Ethan. Look, Leo loves me so much he has gone crazy. It's hilarious, haha. And I will always remember how my mother knelt down begging Chloe to treat me better just to help me regain my sanity. But Chloe only had one sentence: he loved me, but I never loved him. Don't try to guilt trip me, okay? My mother, who already had hereditary mental illness, relapsed because of this incident and ultimately committed suicide in the hospital. As for me, I became increasingly deranged day and night until I finally succumbed to illness and died. My fists suddenly clenched tight as all my memories came rushing back. My jaw trembled uncontrollably as I stared fixedly at the man and woman before me. A bone-chilling hatred roared through my very marrow, and every past event exploded in my mind like a frenzied kaleidoscope. Should I help Ethan? Hi, you're asking me whether I should help Ethan. Get lost! A vicious roar erupted from my throat, my eyes bloodshot, nearly out of control. Chloe was startled, her delicate face filled with shock, then fury. You cursed at me. How dare you curse at me? Perhaps my bottomless love over the years had made her lose herself. She couldn't believe I'd actually cursed at her. Yes, how could I ever scold her? She was the sacred angel in my heart, the fragile little kitten needing pampering, the fallen leaf that would be left helpless without me. She used to be a withered lily, her sorrowful eyes deeply drawing me in, and I foolishly wanted to save her. But now she has long ceased to be that pitiful soul. She has taken me for granted as her personal ATM and punching bag. She has nothing but a selfish, cold-hearted, ungrateful wretch. You worthless trash deserve to be cursed. My voice grew increasingly vicious, the excessive anger causing my cheeks to flush slightly red. Chloe froze once more, utterly incredulous. Beside her, the tall and lanky Ethan lifted his head, his melancholic face darkening with displeasure. Leo, you don't have to help me, but don't insult Chloe, he said. Who the hell do you think you are to lecture me? I'm your benefactor. If you want money, kneel and kowtow 3 times first. I roar, my hatred for Ethan equally palpable. Because he too was an ungrateful bastard in my past life. He enjoyed my financial support while secretly slandering me, claiming I looked down on him and discriminated against him because of my wealth. After he got into a prestigious university, he deliberately came at Tommy. Leo, thank you so much. You're so great. You only got into a community college yourself, yet you helped me get into a top university. Looks like you really are mentally ill, huh? A bastard like that deserves to be depressed for the rest of his life. Leo, have you lost your mind? Spouting such filth, do you think having a bit of money makes you special? Chloe snapped out of her shock, furious. She pointed at me, her face flushed with anger. Let me tell you, Ethan comes from a poor family. His father has been bedridden for years, and he gets bullied by his classmates. He is even more pitiful than I am. You have no right to insult him. I knew all this because in my past life, I not only covered Ethan as father's medical expenses, but also dealt with the gang that bullied him. I even hired a psychologist to treat his depression. So pitiful might as well just die, I scoffed in anger. Chloe trembled all over and roared, Leo, you're truly heartless. I'm giving you one last chance. Are you going to help Ethan or not? If you refuse to help him, then don't ever expect to help me again. Either we're done for good. She pulled out her most familiar trick again. Whenever I hesitated about her request, she would threaten to leave me. This tactic had worked perfectly on the old me because I had invested too much sunk cost in her. She was the irreplaceable angel in my heart, and I couldn't bear to leave her. But in this second life, my mental illness was cured, and my mother's suicide struck me like a wake-up call, jolting me awake. A bitch like Chloe doesn't deserve my love at all. Ha ha, this is the first time I've seen someone threaten others like this. I'd rather adopt a dog than keep you around. At least dogs wag their tails for me. You're worse than a dog. My words struck Chloe like a hammer blow. She couldn't believe her ears. This pushed her fury to the limit. She opened her LV bag, took out a bank card, and threw it at me. Fine, take your damn card and get lost. Don't you dare try to help me again. You brought this on yourself. This card is the couple S supplementary card, at least that's what I call it. Chloe never objected because it contained the money she needed. I've been giving it to her for 3 years, depositing money every month, usually starting at $500. That's quite a lot for a student. Add to that the large holiday transfers and gifts, which kept Chloe living extremely comfortably. So Chloe was always dressed in the latest fashion, never lacking designer bags or shoes, and was widely recognized as the school's young lady. Yet who would have known she was nothing more than a selfish, ungrateful wretch from a poor background. I caught the card with a radiant smile. The bags and shoes you're wearing were also bought by me. Hand them all back. Furious, Chloe froze again, her slanted eyes still brimming with lingering smugness and expectation. She thought I would compromise, waiting to see me grovel and beg for reconciliation. But far from compromising, I demanded the handbag and shoes. Fine, don't come crying to me later. Chloe threw the bag at me, kicked off her shoes, and dragged Ethan away. Ethan remained silent, still wallowing in his melancholy. I punted Chloe's stinky shoe toward the trash bin. As for the handbag brand new, I'll take it home for grocery shopping. Chloe turned back after walking away and saw me kick her shoe away, her face flushing crimson with rage. Without another moment's hesitation, she stormed off, grinding her teeth in fury. I looked up at the azure sky, my anger giving way to endless guilt and sorrow. I lived like a complete beast in my past life. I killed my own mother. Checking the date, I realized the day was my mother's birthday. For the first time in so many years, I realized the significance of the words mother's birthday. My eyes reddened and tears streamed down. I had never celebrated a single birthday for my mom. At most, just sent a happy birthday text. I immediately rushed out of campus and headed to the luxury shopping center downtown, where I bought a Van Cleef Arpels bracelet priced at $6,000. My family wasn't short on money, let alone bracelets, but I had never given my mom a gift before this time. I absolutely had to. Afterwards, I specifically bought a bouquet of carnations. Before, I had only ever bought roses, never carnations. How laughable it seems now when you think about it. After all, carnations are the only flowers you'll never find in a trash can. With the gift purchased, I returned to campus. There were still afternoon classes to attend. I made it just in time. When my classmates saw me walk in holding flowers and a box, they all started teasing me. Leo buying Chloe another gift, how romantic. Seriously, what's so special about Chloe? Amidst the laughter, there were those who felt I was getting my due. After all, everyone knew I was Chloe's lapdog, and she truly treated me as one. In the front row, Chloe tilted her head up slightly and let out a smug little laugh. Clearly, she misunderstood. She automatically assumed I bought the gift to apologize to her. I used to do this all the time in my past life. I don't deserve your gift. We don't even know each other, Chloe said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear and deliberately raising her voice. She intended to humiliate me publicly as punishment, a tactic she often employed. In the past, I would have swallowed my pride, bowed my head, apologized to her, begged her to accept the gift, and pleaded for her forgiveness. The entire class fell silent, keenly sensing that something was amiss. I frowned and gave Chloe a cold glare. Are you out of your mind? These are carnations for my mother. Of course, you don't deserve them. Chloe froze again, her face turning ashen. The class erupted in uproar with some familiar male classmates shouting, Leo, what a real man. Mom comes first. Chloe couldn't bear the humiliation and stormed out. When I returned to my seat, I received a message from her on my phone. Leo, it seems you're determined to force me to leave Ethan, but let me tell you, I've been through the storm myself, and I will absolutely hold an umbrella for Ethan. I know you love me, that you're retreating to advance, playing hard to get, but no matter what tricks you pull, I want to leave Ethan. He needs me. He can't survive without me. How could it be you who is mentally ill for? I genuinely laughed. Chloe actually thought I was playing hard to get. Can't blame her for thinking that. After all, I used to be so pathetic, always crawling back to apologize no matter how furious I got. She naturally assumed I would apologize again this time, that I would always remain the most pitiful dog groveling at her feet. Idiot, I retorted, then blocked her number. This would have been unthinkable before. It had always been her blocking my messages and number over and over again. Whenever she was in a bad mood, she'd de-block me without hesitation. While I pitifully would apologize by gifts, transfer money, begging her to release me from her blacklist. I have to say, blocking someone feels really good after school. I rushed home excitedly. My mom was cooking with an apron on, her slightly tired face full of worry. Clearly she was worrying about me. She often worries about me. Leo, you're still young and don't understand what love is. You need to study hard. Getting into a good university will be very helpful for you. You've been in a daze all day for that. Chloe, neglecting your studies, refusing to listen no matter how much I plead. Mom is worried. Love should be mutual. Chloe has never given you anything in return. You need to understand this. Mom's past earnest advice echoed in my ears, making my eyes inexplicably sting. Looking again at Mom's busy figure in the kitchen, my tears overflowed. Mom, I ran over my mother, turned around, and immediately smiled. Leo, back, I made beef stew for you today. Holding back tears, I handed her the gift. Mom, happy birthday. My mother froze in place, looking at the gift with disbelief. You're giving this to me? Yes, for my most beloved mom. I hugged her tightly. Though she is now a head shorter than me in my heart, she remains as magnificent as ever. My mother's eyes also reddened. Then she looked behind me. Aren't you bringing Chloe home today? It's Friday today. I usually bring Chloe home to stay over, and Chloe enjoys coming to my place too, because my house is spacious and luxurious with a bathtub for her to soak in. She really likes that and would take photos to post on Instagram. Except there's never been a single photo of me on that Instagram. After spending more time with Chloe, my mother naturally came to understand her character. She repeatedly advised me to stay away from Chloe, but I stubbornly clung to my own views and would even talk back to my mom when annoyed. Mom, Chloe isn't worthy of our family. She is not even fit to touch a single finger of mine. I declared with resolute satisfaction. From now on, I'll listen to you. I'll study hard, get into a prestigious university to bring pride to our family, and then we'll have both wealth and culture. My family runs a business. We caught a wave of economic boom and made some money, but we don't have a single educated person among us. That's why getting into a good university is so important for me. It's also my parents' greatest hope. My mom was overjoyed. It wasn't that she was forcing me to get into a top university. She was just afraid Chloe would ruin me. All right. Actually, Mom, isn't against you having love. I wouldn't even scold you for puppy love, but you must love the right person. You absolutely must love the right person. Mom's words filled me with even deeper regret. If only I'd listened to her sooner, would I have suffered for a lifetime? Would I have died depressed in a mental hospital? Her phrase, love the right person, also brought to mind the image of a female nurse named Grace Holloway, my dedicated nurse during my previous life in the psychiatric ward. During my intermittent moments of clarity, I also discovered she was actually my high school classmate. 2 days later, she was transferring to our class as a student from a poor family. She had been shy and introverted since childhood, always invisible in class. I had never noticed her before. Later, when we met again in the psychiatric hospital, she finally opened up to me. Leo, the first came to work at this hospital for you. You become so silly now. Back then, everyone looked down on me and bullied me. Only you stood up for me and even gave me money to buy lunch. You probably don't remember, but I do. I've never forgotten. I wanted to tell you for so long that Chloe is terrible, but I didn't dare. You love her so much. Listening to her inner voice, I could only giggle foolishly because I'd already gone mad. In this lifetime, I won't giggle foolishly anymore because Grace is the right one. 5. I celebrated a birthday with Mom, and I even ordered a cake. When the sky darkened, I called and forced my father to come home. He was a workaholic and had completely forgotten my mother's birthday. I threatened him, if you don't come back to celebrate Mom's birthday, I won't inherit the family business. I'll go work in a factory instead. My father was furious, but also laughed. Good boy, such filial piety. Dad's coming home right now. There is nothing more beautiful than a family enjoying themselves together. This weekend, I decided to change myself too. I got a new haircut, bought new clothes and shoes, completely transforming my former down and outlook. I've set 2 goals in my heart. First, to get into a prestigious university, and second, to not let Grace down. As for Chloe, what kind of trash is that? Get lost. On Monday, when I entered the classroom, the guys in the back row immediately started shouting, damn Leo. That hairstylist is slick, got me feeling all kinds of ways. I chuckled, ignoring Chloe in the front row as I walked to my seat. Chloe ignored me, to her expression calm, and gaze fixed straight ahead, as if we truly become strangers. but her eyelashes trembled slightly. Clearly she wasn't as composed as she seemed. She stubbornly believed I was retreating to advance, waiting for me to admit my mistake. I completely ignored her, instead staring at the door, feeling a bit nervous inside. Grace was about to arrive. Sure enough, the homeroom teacher soon led in a slender girl. The girl had short hair, dressed plainly, with an uneasy expression, her shoes worn and faded to a dull gray. This is Grace. She was actually quite pretty, but her low self-esteem and introverted nature made her avoid eye contact, always keeping her head down with drooping eyebrows, which robbed her of her charm. After the brief introduction, the homeroom teacher asked there are 3 empty seats left in the class who would like to sit with Grace. The 3 empty seats were one next to me, one by the window, next to a girl, and one in the very back row. In my past life, my eyes were only on Chloe, and I completely ignored Grace. The girl by the window was preoccupied with looking at herself in the mirror, looking down on Grace, who came from a poor family. The boy at the back of the class was willing, but Grace was petite, and sitting at the back would make it hard for her to see the blackboard. I vaguely remember that in the end, the homeroom teacher seated Grace next to the girl by the window, which earned a few eye rolls from the latter, while Grace kept apologizing, much to the amusement of the other students. Now, as I watched Grace nervously twisting her fingers, I immediately raised my hand. Teacher, let her sit with me. The whole class erupted in surprise, all eyes turning toward me. Even Chloe couldn't maintain her composure, staring intently at me. I explained, Grace, come sit with me. It's been pretty boring without a desk partner. Grace was both shocked and delighted, quietly letting out a sigh of relief. Someone had finally accepted her. I got my wish and became desk partners with Grace. Occasionally, she would sneak glances at me. When class ended, she pulled out a small packet of cookies and handed them to me. Leo, thank you. Here, have some cookies. It's okay. No need to thank me. You deserve. Thanks. You're a kind person. Thank you. She placed the cookies in my hand, then shyly looked away. I started eating the cookies. To be honest, they weren't good. Who knows how long they'd been sitting there. They were stale. But I ate them happily, finishing every last one. Just then Chloe's note came over. I opened it, and her coldness and arrogance bled through every word. Leo, you're so childish. Did you think dating some country bumpkin would provoke me? And you actually dared to block me? You're the one who threw away your chance. I actually cooled down a bit over the weekend and was going to give you another chance to apologize, but then you had to go and date some village girl to disgust me. Enjoy your little fling with that peasant. You'll never get another chance to win me back. Her indifference carried the same old arrogance and disdain. She never saw me as her benefactor, never even saw me as human. I tossed the note into the trash bin and opened my English workbook to ask Grace, how do you solve this problem? Grace came from a poor family, but her grades were excellent, especially in English. English was my weak subject, and with her help, I felt more confident about getting into a prestigious university. She was overjoyed, probably because she had never played the role of teacher before. Let me see, like this, starting with an English problem, our figures gradually drew closer together. In the front row, Chloe's gaze seemed to turn our way, but who cared? 6 in just half a month, Grace and I had become inseparable friends who shared everything. She was genuinely innocent, with 2 adorable dimples when she smiled, and her neat short hair gave her a refreshingly clean-cut look. If not for her constant self-doubt that kept her head perpetually lowered, she would have been a strikingly beautiful young woman. I want her to gain confidence, so I decided to take her to some upscale places over the weekend. Their essay saying that makes a lot of sense. City kids are generally more confident and poised, partly because they frequent high-end venues more often. With frequent visits and familiarity, they naturally lose their fear and stiffness. But some rural kids have never even been to a KTV, let alone feel at ease in a McDonald's. How can they be confident? I took Grace to the most expensive steakhouse in the city for dinner. She was stunned, standing at the door, too hesitant to enter. Leo, this place looks really expensive. Let us not go in, she said, want to pull me back, but too shy to reach out. You've been teaching me English. Whether I can get into a top university depends on you. Treating you to steak is nothing. Besides, I have a coupon for 50 off. A meal here would only cost us $30. I lied to her. In reality, a meal here started at $300. Grace had never experienced it before and naively believed that $30 is still too expensive. How about I take you to eat tacos from food truck? They're really good though, Grace. Believe me, she still couldn't bear to spend the money. Suppressing my laughter, I insisted and pulled her inside. We sat by the window, where through the glass we could see the bustling commercial street outside, with a constant flow of pedestrians passing by. Many of them would glance at the restaurant through the glass. When the steak arrived, I helped Grace cut it, gripping the knife and fork nervously. She fumbled awkwardly. How do you use these chopsticks? Are much easier. They have chopsticks too? I asked the waiter to bring us 2 pairs. Grace finally felt comfortable eating with chopsticks. I also like using chopsticks to eat. Cutting everything at once and then picking it up is quite convenient. I used to be afraid to use chopsticks because the first time I brought Chloe here to eat steak, she absolutely refused to use them, thinking it was embarrassing. When I used chopsticks, she would fly into a rage. Leo, what kind of rich second generation? Are you eating steak with chopsticks? Are you sick? Isn't this humiliating? She was used to scolding me, even in restaurants. I had to give up using chopsticks just to keep her from getting angry. Now when I use chopsticks with Grace, she whispers to me, Leo, well, we look ridiculous, I don't mind, but you're different from me. What's ridiculous about it? Do whatever feels comfortable. If you want, you could even fill a thermos with self-serve soda. I teased. She burst into laughter, her cheeks flushed pink as she twirled the spaghetti, still using chopsticks. Just then I noticed someone watching us through the glass and instinctively turned to look. My expression darkened instantly because standing outside were none other than Chloe and Ethan. The two were clutching thick stacks of flyers, likely here to distribute them when they spotted me. I locked eyes with Chloe, her face darker than mine, her eyes filled with resentment and disbelief. Ethan lowered his head, slightly putting on a brooding act. It's Chloe. Grace also noticed Chloe and couldn't help but tense up. Whenever she faced Chloe, she always felt an uneasy sense of inferiority. I averted my gaze and said indifferently, don't mind her, we're not close anyway, let us just enjoy our meal. Grace looked a bit puzzled, but listen to me. Chloe remained standing outside the glass for a long time, her head drenched in sweat, her entire face flushed red from the heat. The sun was scorching today, and she was absolutely furious. How could she not be burning up? When Grace and I stepped out of the restaurant, Chloe quickly approached, glaring at me fiercely. Leo, what the hell do you think you're doing? Stop playing dumb. The whole class knows I'm handing out flyers here. Did you really not know you deliberately brought Grace to our usual steakhouse to spite me? How pathetic can you be? Chloe was seething with rage. My expression turned icy. Chloe, you're being delusional. Even if you weren't handing out flyers here, even if you were throwing a tantrum, I'd still come here for steak. Fine, are you feeling smug now? I'm broke and have to work odd jobs to make money. Think you've won. Chloe continued, spewing her anger. The noise was grating on my ears, so damn loud. Get lost, you're yapping like a stray dog. So embarrassing. I pulled Grace, who looked a bit scared, away with me. I still needed to take her shopping for clothes and shoes. Leo, you're ruthless. But I'll say it again, if you refuse to help Ethan, no matter what tricks you pull, I want to come back to you. I'd rather suffer hardships with Ethan than leave him keep acting like this, and I'll walk away forever. Chloe hurled another harsh ultimatum. If I kept pushing my luck, I'd lose her for good. I'm dying of laughter. Stop suffering. Go eat shit in the bathroom. Remember to take Ethan with you. He looks like a starved monkey, probably hasn't had a decent meal in years. 7. Chloe is truly unbearable. I used to be too humble and loved her too much, making her firmly believe I'd never leave her. In her eyes, everything I did was just some ploy to play hard to get. I shook my head, wondering how I could be ever like such an idiot. Grace, 10,000 times better than her. Thinking of Grace, I turned back to look. She was following me with flushed cheeks, not saying a word. Grace, why are you blushing? I asked curiously. She lifted her head slightly and gave my hand a gentle squeeze, her warmth softly spreading to my palm. So we'd been holding hands the whole time. She was just shy. I immediately wanted to let go of her hand, but instinctively gripped it tighter, instead feeling a peculiar warmth surge from the depths of my heart. Especially when I saw Grace's shyly lowered brows. Shakespeare's verse surfaced in my mind. That most tender moment of bowing her head resembles a water lily too shy to bear the cool breeze. Is this what liking someone feels like? To be honest, Grace and I haven't spent much time together, yet it's too soon to speak of love. The reason I treat her well is because I know how much she sacrificed for me in her past life. I did help her, but it was all unintentional. I might have done the same for any classmate without thinking. Things like giving her money for meals or helping chase away people who mocked her. I never kept count, yet she remembered everything and developed feelings for me. After I developed mental illness, she chose to become an anonymous nurse by my side, devoting herself wholeheartedly to my care. What man wouldn't be moved by a girl like this? Now I'm not just moved, I'm smitten. She is truly beautiful and kind-hearted. My past self must have had shit in his eyes to not notice her. Grace, whenever you blush, my heart races. I wonder what the scientific explanation is. I teased her deliberately, a hidden smile playing at the corners of my mouth. Grace's face turned even redder. She turned her head away, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear as she changed the subject awkwardly. I should head back to campus. It's getting late. She was a boarding student and rarely went home on weekends to save on travel expenses. No rush. Let us go shopping and buy some things. I insisted on taking her shopping, feeling an overwhelming sense of joy in my heart. I wanted to raise her to be plump and fair-skinned. Loving someone is truly like tending to a flower. If you fall for a blossom, you'd never stand by and watch it wither. You want it to bloom beautifully. What should we buy? Don't get me anything I don't need. Anything. Grace was worried I'd spend recklessly. I don't care. I just go ahead and buy them clothes, skirts, shoes, hair, accessories, necklaces. Anything I like, I make Grace try on. She would dare try them on. Just seeing those high-end stores make her nervous. Leo, don't buy these. They're so expensive. Let us go to the outlet mall. They have wholesale. Grace whispers to me, too afraid to even look at the price tags. I wanted to laugh, but suppressed my voice as I replied, don't worry, my mom asked me to buy this for you. She said, I couldn't let you teach me English for free. I had to give you a gift. Your mom knows about me. Grace was startled, a mix of unease and delight flickering across her face. She does, and she likes you very much. In my past life, my mother truly had adored Grace. During the time Grace took care of me at the psychiatric hospital, my mother would always talk to her, practically treating her as a daughter-in-law. Too bad I was so useless, always acting crazy and triggering my mom's mental illness to relapse. Otherwise, Grace and I might have ended up together. You really didn't have to buy me such expensive things. I truly don't need. Grace continued, waving her hands in refusal. My mom likes coming to school to visit me, and she said she'd like to see you too. Consider it meeting the parents. So, dress up a bit, I teased. Grace blushed, her eyes darting around. What meeting the parents? The emotions between young boys and girls are always so swift and blazing. I took Grace out for steak, bought her clothes, and we spent a happy weekend together. Our relationship had already entered that ambiguous stage. I experienced a kind of flutter I never felt before, sensation I hadn't tasted in all my years with Chloe. From that moment on, Chloe was completely erased from my mind. My eyes were only on Grace and on getting into an Ivy League school to make my family proud. When Grace learned my family wanted someone academically accomplished, she started drawing up a study plan for me. Leo, your grades are quite good, but your English and liberal arts subjects need work. To be safe, you'll need to put in more effort. Like this, follow my lead. I'll help you plan it out. She wants to repay me now. Wearing the clothes. I bought her neat hair tied with a pretty ribbon, looking clean and stylish. Occasionally lifting her gaze, their gentleness mixed with a spirited charm, no longer resembling the timid girl who first transferred here. Many boys in class sneak glances at her, amazed by her transformation. Chloe was also stealing glances, perhaps because of the suffering from my past life. I could always catch Chloe's gaze the moment it fell on me. She was in the front row, her eyes sweeping over to our side from time to time, like a sinister night owl. Of course, she remained a proud hawk, waiting for me to admit my mistake. At the same time, she had also called Ethan to our class. Whenever class was over or school let out, Chloe would call Ethan to our classroom and tutor him in front of everyone. A girl asked her curiously, is he from the next class a relative of yours? Not a relative, but a boyfriend, Chloe deliberately said it loud. The entire class erupted in an uproar with countless eyes turning toward me. I scoffed and pulled Grace along. Grace, I'm hungry. Let us go get some steak. Again, it's so expensive. How about burgers instead? Grace was genuinely worried about the cost. When she found out the clothes I bought her cost over $500, she was so angry she didn't speak to me for a full 5 minutes. If I hadn't pretended to cry, she definitely would have given me the silent treatment for 10 minutes. All right, burgers sound great too. I eagerly pulled Grace along with me. My happiness came from the heart. It wasn't meant to spite Chloe at all. Right now, Chloe held no place in my heart anymore. I loved sitting with Grace by the food truck near the river, eating burgers and fries while enjoying the breeze, cheap yet delicious. The key is Grace also enjoys eating. Chloe watched us walk out of the classroom. Her face turned ashen, her fingers turning white from gripping the pen too tightly. Ethan lowered his head and asked Chloe, how do you solve this problem? Can't even solve something this simple. How have you been studying? Chloe suddenly flared up, slamming the pen onto the floor. The crowd gasped again. I didn't look back, holding Grace's small hand, soft, fragrant, and utterly delightful. 9 time flew by with Grace's wholehearted help. My English and liberal arts grades improved by leaps and bounds. I was already a top 10 student in my class, and after 3 mock exams, I broke into the top 5. Perhaps this is the power of love. Of course, there's also the power of a mother's love. In this life, I will never let mom feel sad or heartbroken again. With just over a month left until the major exam, Grace and I doubled down on our efforts, kicking into intensive training mode. We studied like our lives depended on it, but I noticed Chloe was absent from school today. A classmate sitting behind me told me, Leo, your ex-girlfriend apparently couldn't afford lunch money yesterday. She fainted from hunger and is probably in the hospital now. Starving to the point of fainting. What era is this? How could this be possible? But when I think about it carefully, Chloe is an orphan and her aunt abused her in every possible way. Before I saved her, she was already a malnourished student from a poor family, often going hungry and cold. Now she has simply returned to where she belongs. Why didn't he care? A classmate from the back row teased. Leo really knows how to pick them up and put them down. Most importantly, he's got taste, actually managing to land the school bell. So early, ugh, how infuriating. The campus bell he mentioned was none other than Grace. After my cultivation, Grace had long shed her meek, downcast demeanor and introverted shyness. Because I compliment her beauty every day, she now lifts her chin with pride and occasionally preens in front of the mirror. I even complimented her on her figure, and she learned how to dress up, even daring to wear short skirts with confidence. And so a fair-skinned, adorable, and pretty young girl was born. Just those two little dimples alone turned my buddies into complete idiots. I smirked smugly my hand, mischievously brushing against Grace's leg under the table. Grace glared at me, stomped on my foot, yet her face flushed crimson. "Hey, that is really nice." In the afternoon, Chloe came to class. She was mentally exhausted, her face pale, as if her soul had left her body. I had paid attention to her in so long, treating her like air every day, never expected she'd end up like this. I glanced at her a couple more times, and she happened to look back. Our eyes met. In an instant, her face tightened, her eyes darkened, and the familiar arrogance crept back onto her cheeks. It seems that in her eyes, I was always just a wretched, groveling cur. I suddenly felt a wave of bad luck. What the hell was wrong with me? Why did I have to look at her? I'll stop watching this decisively and go back to my Grace instead. Unexpectedly, Chloe's note arrived. "Leo, you still peeked at me deep down. You can't let go of me. Can you still care for me, don't you?" Both Ethan and I are struggling. His father is on the verge of death. He can't even afford tuition, and we often eat instant noodles together. It's miserable. "It's all your fault. I never thought you'd be so stubborn. After all this time, you still refuse to admit your mistakes. I'll give you one last chance. Send me a note before school ends." I couldn't help but laugh again, though Chloe's attitude had softened considerably this time. She didn't even emphasize that she wouldn't leave Ethan anymore. But it's still filled with arrogance. How ridiculous. Who the hell do you think you were expecting me to apologize before school ends? Even if Chloe waits until death, I'll never apologize. I tore up the note and focused on training with Grace. We're going to push for NYU together, ideally getting into NYU together. As the school day was about to end, I was still immersed in studying with Grace. Chloe was clearly getting impatient, her gaze fixed on me without pause. Many classmates followed her line of sight, looking at me curiously. Disturbed, I frowned and looked up. "What are you staring at? I'm not Ryan Reynolds." As she finished speaking, I saw a woman appear at the doorway. Her hair was neatly coiled, and her slightly loose professional attire was perfectly proper with light makeup on her face. She looked serene and gentle. I couldn't help but feel a surge of joy. It was my mom, and in her work mode no less. My mom is practically a half-time homemaker, but she occasionally returns to the company to keep busy, otherwise she'd be too bored. Once she returned to the company, she liked to drop by to see me after work, drawing a lot of attention. I nudged Grace's hand. "Look, it's Mom." Grace was startled seeing my mother peering into the classroom. She grew so nervous, she fumbled with her collar and hair, stammering, "Your mom is so pretty. Oh no, what do I do meeting the parents?" I was dying of laughter. Meanwhile, in the front row, Chloe suddenly stood up and went to greet my mother with a bright smile. "Mrs. Carter, what brings you here? It's been so long." Chloe beamed with enthusiasm, her cheeks even showing a hint of sycophancy. This would have been unimaginable before, because she used to have me wrapped around her finger. I loved her recklessly, so much so that even my mother couldn't control me. Chloe, ever the opportunist, naturally saw herself as the high and mighty crown princess, showing almost no courtesy to my mother. My mother froze for a moment, eyeing Chloe with surprise and thoughtful consideration. She knew I had already broken up with Chloe, and I had even mentioned to her that I had a new girlfriend. Just as the class bell rang, I grabbed Grace's hand, and we jogged out together. When my mother saw us, she couldn't help but beam with joy, her bright eyes continuously appraising Grace. Grace was so nervous, her palm clutching mine was drenched in sweat, her cheeks flushed, and her eyes brimming with shyness. "Leo, is this the Grace you've often mentioned to me?" My mother smiled at the corners of her lips. I nodded repeatedly. Grace immediately bowed deeply. "Hello, madam. You're so beautiful." My mother couldn't help but laugh. "I'm already so old. You're the beautiful one. Otherwise my son wouldn't have worked so hard to change himself for you. Thank you." I actually didn't tell my mom much about Grace. But what mother wouldn't understand her own son, my recent complete transformation, walking around every day with a spring in my step and a smile on my face. My mom had long guessed it was because of Grace. I should be the one thanking Leo. He changed my whole life. If it weren't for him, I would definitely. Grace didn't elaborate, but I understood what she meant. Without me, she'd still be that insecure, introverted girl. My mother pondered for a moment, then nodded. All right, you two can influence each other. Come on, I'll treat you to a meal." "Madam, let me treat you to dinner. How about steak?" Grace volunteered. "There's a steakhouse with really delicious steak." My mother didn't refuse and agreed with a smile. I blinked and quietly asked Grace, "Do you have money?" "I have a credit card with a limit of $2,000. It should be enough," Grace whispered in reply. I nearly died laughing, but was deeply moved inside. What a silly girl. I couldn't help but recall the first time Chloe met my mother. I was the one who brought her home. The moment we arrived, she took out her phone and started snapping photos nonstop, click after click. When she saw my mother, she greeted her with a fake smile, her eyes darting around, impatiently showing no interest in having a proper conversation with her. Moreover, before going to my place, I had clearly reminded her to buy some fruits just for appearance's sake. Yet she simply refused, saying she couldn't be bothered. Back then, I still thought Chloe was just immature due to her young age. But looking back now, how could it be mere immaturity? She simply looked down on me and naturally didn't care about my mother either. In contrast, Grace used her credit card a weapon she'd always been afraid to activate for fear of overspending to treat my mother to steak. How foolish. I tightened my grip on Grace's hand, never wanted to let go again. Beside us, Chloe watched us leave, her lips trembling as if she wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. She seemed to finally realize I truly love Grace, and that I truly didn't love her anymore. That steak dinner left us all thoroughly satisfied. Grace paid with her credit card, totaling $320. Thank goodness I could use my credit card or I'd be mortified, Grace whispered in relief, her cheeks still flushed with nervousness. I wanted to laugh. My mom was sharp and could tell Grace was strapped for cash, but she didn't point it out, instead giving me an approving glance. She understood that I had loved the right person. You see, the right person in a man's eyes is just that simple, yet so many women fail to grasp it. After seeing my mom off, I took Grace back to school. We still had evening self-study to attend. As soon as we entered the school gate, Chloe came walking toward us. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with a complex, indescribable emotion, somewhere between arrogance and suppressed frustration. I frowned at her. She glanced at Grace and spoke coldly. Grace, the homeroom teacher is looking for you. You'd better go. Grace froze for a moment, but didn't leave. Instead, she gripped my hand tighter. I don't believe it. Chloe was left speechless by this. I patted the back of Grace's hand. Grace, go back to class first. Grace hesitated, but eventually left. Chloe took a deep breath, staring intently at me with a hoarse voice. Leo, have you really fallen for that country girl, Grace? Take a look at yourself. First, it's obvious who the country bumpkin is, I sneered. Chloe now looked utterly dispirited, her complexion dull, and her once pristine outfits had grown shabby. Without me, she couldn't afford new clothes at all. Remember, she used to buy several sets every month. Now she's just an ordinary impoverished student. Why are you treating me like this? You should be supporting me, not Grace. Does she even deserve it? Chloe was on the verge of a breakdown. Don't get the wrong idea. Actually, it's not me supporting her, it's her supporting me. I smiled. These words came from the heart. To love someone is like nurturing a flower, and the word nurture isn't limited to just money and material things. Just like in my past life, when I lost my mind, Grace carried her love for me and cared for me until my death. That was nurture. In this lifetime, when I repaid her kindness, Grace always reciprocated, preparing breakfast for me, creating study plans, treating my mother to steak dinners. All these small gestures nurtured me. A well-tended flower blooms into love. Chloe could never understand this truth. After all, she was a man-eating flower that devoured flesh without spitting out the bones. You're lying. The money and love you originally gave me all went to Grace. You're the one who raised her. Chloe's eyes brimmed with hatred. I can't accept this. I want to submit. Everything that belongs to her should have been mine. Give it back to me. Give it back to you. Seems like you're really losing your mind. I suggest you just accept that you're such a saint, after all, willing to sacrifice everything to save Ethan. I'm utterly impressed here, as wishing you both a lifetime of happiness and many children. I waved her off and turned to leave. Chloe's lips trembled violently as she grabbed me. Leo, the first only helped Ethan out of pity. You know, I've always had depression. Ethan is just like me. He suffering too. I can't help but want to help him. She was so damn noisy. I shook off her hand violently. None of my fucking business. Get lost. I kept walking. Chloe's shoulders were trembling, tears streaming from the corners of her eyes. Leo, please don't be like this. I was wrong, okay? These words seemed to drain all her strength. Her head hung low, body tense, the chattering of her teeth painfully clear. No, I walked away without even turning my head. Chloe, left behind in the darkness, finally burst into tears. I don't believe you're this heartless. You're forcing me to be with Ethan. He likes me so much, says he'd rather die than live without me. Leo, come back, or I'll become Ethan's girlfriend. She was threatening me again, though the threat lacked any real conviction. Yet that familiar, nauseating arrogance still lingered in her words. Even the slightest bit still makes me sick. Chloe, you're disgusting. 12. I ignored all of Chloe's demands and returned to Grace's side. Grace didn't ask many questions. Seeing all our classmates absorbed in self-study, she quickly kissed me, then blushed and flipped through her book, pretending nothing had happened. So adorable. One more kiss let us secretly lower our heads and have a French kiss. I exaggeratedly swallowed my saliva. EW. Grace bit her lip and jabbed at me hard with her pen tip. Well, little kid, haha, fooling around with this elementary school. Of the day of the big exam arrived as scheduled. Early in the morning, we all gathered in the classroom, preparing to head to the exam hall soon. Right at that moment, a guy in the back row suddenly exclaimed, "Holy shit," while holding up his phone and shouting Chloe's amazing announcing, "She's with Ethan" right at this moment. How everyone was dumbfounded and quickly opened their phones, which they were about to hand in to check social media. Chloe and Ethan made it official. Ethan was somewhat of a celebrity, now handsome, brooding, a minor campus heartthrob. As for Chloe, she'd been famous for a while, the princess of many people's imaginations. So when the two made their relationship public, it ignited a wildfire of gossip. "Leo, your ex is something else," announcing her relationship right before the big exam. Check out this caption, "Youth like this, loving you with no regrets." Not just a caption, their essay photo too. It's a picture of Chloe and Ethan together with a motel in the background. Did they go get a room last night? Holy crap, that's wild. Chloe hasn't shown up, yet maybe she overslept. Wait, now that she's made it official, she'll probably be here soon. Everyone kept chattering away. I just found it ridiculous. What a bunch of idiots. "Youth is fleeting, but my love for you is eternal." Youth is fleeting, but my love for you is eternal. I immediately grabbed Grace's hand and laughed. She rolled her eyes dramatically and stared at me. "Seriously, don't mind other people's business. Focus on the exam today. We're getting into NYU." "Yes, Ma," and I gathered my thoughts and set my sights on New York University. And Chloe came too. She had put on makeup today, and having presumably borrowed money to eat a few decent meals, she looked much better. Her arrival drew everyone's attention, with all eyes fixed on her. But she ignored everyone, not even sparing me a glance. However, she slipped me another note. "I'm with Ethan, now angry, regretful. I chose today, specifically, so you wouldn't get distracted during your big exam. You drove me to this. I really want to know what is going through your head. Leo, tell me, does it make you angry that the angel you've worshipped for years gave herself to another man in a 50 motel room?" I felt nauseated. I wasn't angry, just utterly sickened. What sickened me wasn't just Chloe's disgusting actions, but the unshakable arrogance dripping from her every word. All these years, everything I've done for her has become the foundation of her arrogance. She always holds her head high, looking down on me from above. It seems I've always been a lowly dog at her feet. My face was expressionless as I remained silent. Chloe turned to look at me, a smile curling at the corners of her lips. I was about to reply with the word disgusting when Grace suddenly snatched the note and tore it to pieces. Then she leaned in close to my cheek with a smile, tilting her head and asking, "Exams are coming up. After they're over, I'll give you a reward. What would you like?" Looking at her cute dimples and adorable expression, I couldn't help but smile. A 1-minute French kiss. I loved teasing her. She was actually quite willing to kiss me, but she was always too shy to go any deeper. "Okay, you can kiss me however you want." Grace blinked, shyness creeping in her eyes, her dimples turning pink. My heart blossomed with joy. Who cared about Chloe now? A disgusting pile of shit. Just don't look at it isn't that simple. 13 during the 2 days of the big exam, I poured all my energy into it. My eyes were only on the test papers and, of course, Grace. Grace would kiss me before every exam, afraid that I might get nervous. Actually, she was the one who should have been nervous. After all, she needed to get into New York University more than I did. She had told me long ago that her family was poor and studying was her only way out. She had already mapped out her entire life. And the turning point in her life was getting into New York University. Once she got in, she would step into a brand new life. As for me, my family is well off. Getting admitted would fulfill my parents' dreams, but failing would just be a minor regret. So I told Grace, "I'm not afraid of failing the exam. Stop worrying about me all the time. You should focus more on yourself. Don't let me distract you." "I'm not afraid either. I just want you to do well," Grace said with a giggle. I patted her head and said, "You once told me that getting into NYU was the turning point in your life. You're always thinking about me. I'm really afraid you'll fail and let yourself down." Grace smiled again, her dimples showing. "I said that before I fell for you. Now, you were the turning point in my life." My heart was instantly struck and I nearly teared up. "Grace, you silly girl." Finally, the big exam was over. Grace and I exchanged a smile and hugged tightly. We both performed well, and if nothing unexpected happens, our wishes will surely come true. Stepping out of the exam hall, a Mercedes was waiting for us. My mom nervously glanced around, then smiled softly when she saw us emerge hungry. "Let us get steak, my treat this time." She didn't ask us about the exam, afraid of adding pressure. We didn't feel any pressure anymore. A wonderful life was waiting for us. In the car, I secretly poked Grace's palm. "What about that promised French kiss?" "What, you pervert!" Grace turned her face away, her ears burning red, while stealing glances at my mother driving in the front seat. "Don't worry, Mom." Didn't hear anything. I pressed close to Grace, demanding she fulfill her promise. She covered her ears with both hands, bowing her head and chanting, "Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha." "Oh, you little Grace." I laughed heartily, my chest overflowing with affection. "Thank you for redeeming me." 14. On the day the exam results were released, all the classmates returned to school. After the scores were announced, graduation photos were taken, and then everyone went their separate ways, unlikely to meet again. The school was bustling with noise and excitement, filled with joy everywhere. Everyone in the class was present, and Chloe also sat silently in the front row, quietly scrolling through her phone. She's mentally drained again, with very noticeable dark circles under her eyes, clearly not doing well. Beside me, Grace is nervous, anxiously glancing out the window, trying to suppress her tension. I gently hold her hand, offering silent comfort. Finally, the scores are out. Everyone checks their own. I look at mine. First, SAT 1510. The moment I saw my score, I was instantly exhilarated. This score was enough to get me into New York University. It was also the best I'd ever done on exam. Grace, beside me, burst into tears on the spot. She hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her face, completely disregarding her usual composure. Suddenly, it dawned on me. She had been nervous about my results all along. I had assumed she was anxious for herself. Don't cry. Go check yours, I said, wiping her tears and urging her to look up her own score. She smiled through her tears and casually checked her score. Not a trace of nervousness left. 1530 points. She scored 20 points higher than me. I immediately relaxed, the heavy weight in my heart lifting, and couldn't resist kissing her. Her face turned red again as she gave me a little glare in the classroom. Everyone was preoccupied with their own scores, some overjoyed, some distressed, and a few unable to hold back their tears. At the front row, a girl suddenly shouted, 900 points. What the hell, Chloe? Did you leave some questions unanswered? Chloe scored 900 on her SAT. As a top student in the class, her grades had always been among the best. In my past life, it was with her help that Ethan managed to surpass me and eventually got admitted to a prestigious university, leaving me in the dust. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect Chloe to score only 900 points in this life. Everyone was stunned, and many couldn't believe it, crowding around to take a closer look. Chloe, on the other hand, kept her head down her back, trembling slightly, breathing rapidly, clearly in great distress. Chloe brought this on herself. She's always hovering around Ethan, helping him study, giving him money while her own grades have plummeted. Someone muttered. Chloe's roommate added, it's so stupid, what every weekend she takes odd jobs to earn money that Ethan's father is bedridden with a serious illness and desperately needs the money. Ethan has ruined her. Doesn't Chloe have money? Why is she working? Someone else wondered. Money, my ass. Leo was supporting her all along. After Leo stopped being her lapdog, she got what she deserved. Seems like Leo won Grace over, and she treats him like a god. So envious. The class buzzed with gossip. The guy behind me who just seen our scores deliberately twisted the knife. Ahem, Leo scored 1510, Grace 1530. They're going to NYU together. Holy shit, that's insane. Everyone gasped in amazement, and suddenly Grace and I became the center of attention. Chloe trembled, wanting to look back at me, but holding herself back, then stood up and ran out, not even staying for the graduation photo. 15 Chloe's absence couldn't stop the graduation photo shoot from proceeding. Our entire class took the graduation photo, and small groups of friends also took pictures together. Grace and I naturally had to take a couple photos. She was quite shy, her face turning completely red amidst everyone's teasing. While she was paying attention, I went in for a kiss during the photo. A full-on lip lock that really set the crowd off. Wild applause and deafening laughter erupted. This is what youth is like with you. I have no regrets after taking photos. Grace said she needed to go back home for a while. Since the holiday started, she's been working a summer job and staying at my place, never going back home. I'll go home with you to meet your parents. It's my turn to meet the parents now. Ugh, stop it. Grace rolled her eyes at me. My home in the countryside, and all my relatives are expecting me to bring good news back. I'll go alone. First, they've been eagerly waiting. She was eager to return and share the joy of getting into New York University. Moreover, her cousin had come to pick her up. I nodded and watched as she left with her cousin. The school was still bustling as I headed to the classroom. When I reached a deserted corner of the teaching building, a familiar voice called out from ahead. Ethan, you scored over 1200 on your SAT. That's enough for a decent undergraduate program. I got less than 900. If I go to a second-tier university, tuition alone would cost $20,000 to $30,000 a year. I might have to consider community college. It was Chloe's voice, weary and desolate. Ethan sounded less melancholic now, with a hint of joy in his voice. I really performed beyond expectations. It's great. I'm satisfied. Chloe forced a smile upon hearing this. Congratulations. Your father would probably be very pleased too. Absolutely. He is very grateful to you. Oh, and he also said you should marry me soon. Ethan began plotting their future. How about this? You drop out since community college is useless anyway. Marry me, come back to our village to raise children, and you can take care of my dad while you're at it. He can't afford the hospital anymore and needs round-the-clock care. Ethan's words hit Chloe like a bomb, leaving her stunned. She gasped, marry you now and give up my education. Yeah, what's the big deal? Women don't gain much from studying. Just marry me obediently and have babies once I graduate and land a good job. A 1T treat you badly, Ethan said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Chloe took 2 steps back, both shocked and furious. Ethan, how could you be so shameless when you were your lowest? I was the one who pulled you out of the fire, and now you say such things. Ethan frowned. Don't you love me? Didn't T you fall for me? At first sight, why 1T you give up your studies and marry me? You, Chloe was speechless, fat tears welling up in her eyes. Ethan still looked puzzled. Why are you crying? What's there to cry about getting married? I want to marry you, Chloe screamed, tears streaming down her face. I should never have helped you. Why was I so stupid? So utterly stupid. Chloe completely broke down, wiping her tears while pointing at Ethan and cursing him. I thought you're my true love. I couldn't bear lowering myself to Leo because he was too pathetic. He had no charm at all. Now I realize it wasn't that he lacked charm. It was that I was too cheap and foolish. I didn't cherish everything he gave me. Chloe wailed, uncontrollably staggering until she could barely stand. Ethan moved to steady her in shock, but she shoved him away violently and collapsed to the ground. The pain from a fall was the last straw for her, and she burst into hysterical sobs. Leo, doesn't he want me anymore? Leo, doesn't he want me anymore? So, he really doesn't love me after all? Ethan, it's all your fault. I must have been blind to ever fall for you. You're not even worth one of Leo's fingers. You're broke. You've got no connections. You're selfish and chauvinistic. No wonder you're depressed. No wonder everyone walks all over you. Chloe screamed, her tears matting her hair, together her entire being pale and deranged. I'm done for. I've lost everything, and you still want me to marry you, to be your slave? If I had been with Leo earlier, I wouldn't be so poor. I can't even afford food. I wouldn't have failed my exams like this. It would be me going to New York University with him, not Grace. Each shouted sentence left Ethan stunned, rooted to the spot. Then he flew into a rage, lunging forward to slap Chloe across the face. No wonder you've been getting more and more impatient with me, even cursing at me sometimes. So it's because you can't stand losing, Leo, you bitch. Ethan slapped Chloe hard enough to draw blood. How could you be so fickle? Let me tell you, it's too late for regrets now. If you're going to help me see it through to the end, marry me and take care of my father. Get out, Chloe shrieked, covering her face, just like she used to scream at me. Enraged, Ethan pinned Chloe to the ground and began beating her, telling me to get lost. You're my wife. Now, I'll beat you to death. Ethan was truly vicious. Subconsciously, he saw Chloe as his wife, as his tool to be beaten at will. Clearly, Ethan was rotten to the core from the start. There was a reason he was bullied, and the saying, the miserable have their own hateful traits, explains why he was ostracized. The ridiculous Chloe actually fell in love with him at first sight, determined to redeem this kindred spirit. What is going on over there? Who's screaming? Some classmates came running. Ethan was startled and immediately fled in panic. Chloe, her face covered in blood, struggled to her feet, leaning against the wall, while gasping for breath, tears still streaming down. The classmates wanted to take her to the school infirmary, but she shook her head in refusal. I stopped watching and walked toward the stairs with my hands in my pockets. Chloe froze completely when she finally saw me. She stood there leaning against the wall, trembling violently with snot and tears streaming down her face, blood still flowing. I ignored her, walking further away. Suddenly, she wailed again, stumbling toward me before collapsing at my feet, clutching my legs with both hands. Leo, the first was wrong. I was really wrong. I tried to shake her off, but couldn't break free. Chloe continued sobbing. I made a huge mistake. Please forgive me. Can't we go back to how things were? I'm still clean. I didn't give myself to Ethan. That social media post was just to provoke you. I didn't give myself to him. I'll give myself to you tonight, okay? Her shameless words stunned the nearby classmates into silence. Let go, I shouted sharply. Chloe's tears were stained red with blood as it kept flowing from the corners of her eyes. Leo, the first was really wrong. I'll do anything you want, really. I'll give you whatever you want. Come back to me, okay? I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. She frantically apologized, humbling herself to the dust. This time her words finally lacked that nauseating arrogance. I looked down at her without a flicker of emotion. You're not admitting your mistakes. You're realizing you can't survive without me. With another forceful motion, I shook off Chloe's hand and strode upstairs. Behind me, Chloe collapsed in tears, 16 in the golden September race, and I walked hand in hand through the gates of New York University. She was as cheerful as a lark, looking around everywhere and dragging me to take photos, saying she wanted to show them to my mom. I looked at her, my heart brimming with tenderness. In our past life, she was a nurse in a mental hospital, and I was her delirious patient. In this life, we are students at New York University, a couple stepping toward a beautiful future. Grace, thank you, I chuckled. Grace tilted her head slightly. What for? Thank you for being by my side, I replied. Grace blinked, linking her arm with mine. What's there to thank me? For I'll always be by your side. We'll have children together and grow old together. Will we still French kiss when we're old, you disgusting pervert? In the golden autumn campus, students bustled about as leaves fluttered down. Grace's faint dimples showed through her flustered expression, truly a breathtaking sight. 2 months later, while I was getting intimate with Grace under the girls' dormitory, a high school buddy of mine sent me a message. Holy shit, Leo, your ex has gone crazy. She's even been admitted to a mental hospital. The so-called ex was of course Chloe. I asked what had happened. My friend sighed deeply. Chloe failed her big exam. Right, she didn't have money for school anymore and had been working odd jobs. Then out of nowhere, Ethan forcibly dragged her back to their village. Chloe was actually an orphan and her aunt didn't care about her after Ethan kidnapped her. She suffered so much torment that she became neither human nor ghost. No wonder she went mad. I was somewhat shocked. Was Ethan really that deranged? Eventually, Chloe managed to escape on her own and was found by the police. Ethan got arrested and sent to prison. He's definitely having a rough time in there now. This whole thing was even reported on our local news. Everyone knows about it. TSK. Who do you have thought such things could still happen in this day? And age people's hearts are truly unfathomable. I was left speechless. I'm not a heartless person, but the moment I thought of Chloe's true nature, my heart turned to stone. If I hadn't been reborn, my fate would have been worse than Chloe's. I spent a lifetime in madness. My mother committed suicide. My father collapsed under the blow and never recovered, and the entire company went bankrupt. And what about Chloe? She and Ethan, that wretched couple, lived happily ever after showing me not an ounce of mercy. If only in her past life she had been willing to visit me in the mental hospital to offer me some guidance, or even to spare my mother some cruelty, I might have felt a shred of pity for her. But she did nothing. She enjoyed everything I gave her, then cast me aside without a second thought. The first thing I saw after my rebirth was Chloe holding a boy's hand, glaring at me, and demanding, what are you staring at? Are you going to help him or not? Look, Leo's so obsessed with me. He has gone crazy. How hilarious. Yeah, so hilarious now. She's in a mental hospital. Still funny. Leo, what's wrong? Grace held my arm and asked curiously. I put away my phone with a light laugh. Nothing. Let us keep making out. How come I can never get enough of kissing this little mouth of yours? You mwah mwah mwah, this mouth so sweet. The end.